Welcome back to another soul-led episode of Right to Rise Collective. I'm Leslie Wall. I am your host, and today I am beyond honored to be in sacred conversation with one of the most powerful women I have ever been blessed to know. She embodies voice, value, and visibility. Elizabeth is a soul-led business mentor, the creator of Sales with Soul, and a guide for heart-centered women who are ready to stop hustling for their worth and start receiving from a sacred truth. She's here to talk about her upcoming in-person event, her Sales with Soul framework, and receiving visibility, and how we can move through guilt, scarcity, and self-doubt into radical receiving. So if you've ever struggled with being seen, pricing your work, or trusting that you are worthy of abundance, this conversation is for you, and this human is worth knowing. Elizabeth, I'm so grateful you're here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing introduction. I feel a little special now.
You are special.
Thank you. As are you.
Yeah. So let's kick this off. I love that you've stepped into this space. When I last talked to you, you were really struggling to marry your new concept and what you were stepping into with your professional background, which is in sales. And I think that's where this birthed from, and you really came into your knowing and you're starting to embody it. And I'm talking about Sales with Soul. This is not your average used car dealership sales techniques. These are heart-filled and heart-led sales tactics that you're teaching. And I want to talk about what that really means to you and how this was birthed from your own healing and business journey.
Yes. So to your point, when I was in corporate, I really quickly climbed the corporate ladder, and I was phenomenal at what I did. I could sell anything, right? And I always did it from an ethical standpoint. I never lied to my customers, and against some recommendations, I never pushed my customers. If I didn't think our solution was the right fit, I would let them know that I didn't believe it was, which obviously is not okay when you're working for a company and they want you to push. But for me, it was that thought that at the end of the day, I know in my heart, in my soul, that I could go back to any of my customers today even and ask them for a recommendation 10, 15 years later, and they would gladly give it to me. And that to me was more important than anything. And I used to get told that I needed to separate my emotions from selling and from what I was doing in my business. And I cared too much. And for me, that really is the core of it, right? That's why I was so successful, because I cared so much, right? And being a soul-led entrepreneur, and I know that this really came to fruition as I started to build community, because that was the one thing that I thought I was really missing, sisterhood. And we've talked about this, right? So as I went on my healing journey, I left corporate because I burned out. I kept performing and trying to do more, be more, achieve more. And ultimately that stemmed from childhood traumas and generational conditioning. And I led myself to the point of burning out. And, I always give this one example that I was on my hospital bed getting an emergency C-section, and I was taking sales calls because I was so terrified that I was going to lose everything that I had worked for, not even thinking about my health or the health of my unborn baby, who is phenomenal. A pain in my left side, but that's about it. That was my right. But, I really, when I got out and I started doing the work, and I was forced to, so I'm not going to say it was really a choice, right? My body shut down. I developed fibromyalgia and Raynaud syndrome, which is like where your hands get really, really cold and your feet and your body thinks it's being frostbitten. And the doctors couldn't answer to why. And my one doctor, who was a woman, said to me, Elizabeth, your body is screaming that you need to stop. You have pushed yourself to the point where you might get to the point of no return, and you don't want to do that. And if you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be forced to make time for your illness. And that's not the first time I've heard that. And so I really, really started to listen, and then kind of took the time, went on disability, which is super frowned upon. And even that gave me that shame and that ill, because, you don't do that. And after I had that time and I started to work on myself, I started to realize all the important things that I missed out on with my kids and not being around and not being present for them, and just not getting to see, like, be there for those little moments, because I was always traveling to go close deals, to New York or here or there. And ultimately, I had something really tragic happen. So my goddaughter, who was 19 years old, she passed away in a car accident. And that really hit home for me, because she was working 3 jobs at 19. Didn't have to. She felt that she needed to because of that performance. Having to prove, having to be, having to do. And so that kind of sparked the wanting to help, younger girls not get to the point that I got to, and experiencing that burnout and having my nervous system shut down on me, and really just feeling desperate and just feeling lost, and like my whole identity was in shambles. And so when I got out and I went through that healing and really did the work, it was everything I was teaching was around the soul illumination method. And it was about alignment, about healing, about coming home to ourselves and integrating. And what I didn't realize that entire time was that the piece of me I had not integrated was the fire, the flame, that inner passion, what was really pushing me and motivating me to keep going and to, do the damn thing. And so it really took, I couldn't understand why I kept hitting that glass ceiling, and it was like this invisible wall, and it was blocking me, until I found sisterhood, and you were part of that, right? And Odie, and really just sitting down and realizing that even though we all came from different careers, we experienced the same situation, the same burnout. And in listening to you guys all tell your stories, because I am a psych major, and so in listening to you guys tell your stories, I started to put the pieces together and realize that the majority of us have taken that fire and buried it, because we blame that fire for us getting sick. We blame that fire for our burnout, and not realizing that it wasn't our flame. It wasn't that we were too much. It was the environment that we were in that was toxic, that forced us to overperform. And so as I kept looking at that and sitting with it and doing the shadow work and doing, my plant medicine journeys, and we've talked about that as well, part of my healing, and getting off of antidepressants, and really, really doing the work, the scary work, the work that we don't want to do, the shame, going deep, deep, deep. And ultimately, it brought me back to sales. And what really triggered me was I started to see how many soul-led women were falling victim. And I say victim because that's kind of how I feel. Because when you are kind of desperate, you don't know how to sell, it's not something that you're used to, it's not something you've ever done before, you're looking for guidance, you're looking for the experts that know how to do it, and you're going to look for them anywhere you can. And if there's not really anyone who understands that soul-led journey, then ultimately you're going to take the advice or go get the expert help from anyone. And so what I started to see is the push to sell from a place of misalignment, and do anything to close a deal, anything to make a sale, and you don't have to be aligned. And unless you are a soul-led entrepreneur woman who's already been on the journey, who has already experienced what it is to be misaligned and then had to do the work to come home to yourself and heal yourself, you don't know what it means to ask somebody to do something that is not in alignment. It literally causes this rift. So in psychology, you learn about cognitive dissonance. And so you have these two circles, and the closer that you move together is like moving toward wholeness, right? Very few people, Jesus and Buddha and, the spiritual gurus of history have really been able to close those two circles. But the goal is to get as close as we can to, there's your ideal self and the self that you are today. And so when you make decisions that kind of pull you away, so separating you, it causes this dysregulation in your nervous system. And it really just, it almost like radiates the trauma that you have embedded in your system. And so it just amplifies it. And so the goal here is to work toward congruency and not to do things that are out of alignment. And so how do we do that? There had to be something different. And guess what? I'm like, well, hearing you talk and hearing so many other of my sisters, like, we need someone who understands, who gets it, and who knows how to sell. Well, hello, here I am. Like, and so, and that was what really hit home for me. I was like, hello, like, and that was almost at that that awakening, like the phoenix rising. And I used to think it was so cliche when people would talk about the phoenix and the journey of the phoenix, but now, like, I embody that. Like, it's that integrating that fire. So you have your highest self, your inner child golden light, and then your inner phoenix, and you integrate those, and that allows you to really thrive. And as I started to build out the framework, what I started to see was the biggest part or the biggest obstacle to visibility, to value, to receiving, had to do with these nervous system memories that were stored traumas from childhood, from being told that we needed to keep to ourselves, or that our opinions didn't matter, or that, what we thought was stupid or wasn't going to be received by others, or that scarcity mindset. Like us, we didn't grow up poor. We were middle class, but we were very much raised in a scarcity mindset home. And so it was always, money's going to run out. There's not enough to go around. People like us can't be wealthy. We can't make money. And so, all of those things get rooted. Some of the things that really, like, I was able to identify as triggers in my nervous system that would literally trigger the fight, flight, freeze response were one memory when I was 7 years old, around there. And I had told my dad, there was these big houses in the hills, and I told my dad, I have a great idea. Let's go in the hills, and I'm going to take a paper and a pen, and you're going to take me, and I'm going to knock on every door. And I'm going to ask them what they do for a living and how they were able to afford a house like that, so I can buy us a house like that one day. And there's like a show. There's a guy on like TikTok or something who's like super wealthy from doing that today. I'm like, man, see, Dad, you straight trumped my idea. And so anyways, my dad literally said to me, God bless his soul, may he rest in peace. I know he did the best he could with what he had available to him, and I've made peace with that. But he basically said, like, you're stupid. Like, that is a dumb idea. No one is going to listen to you. Those people come from money. They didn't earn it. We'll never have that. You need to just, like, be happy with what you have. And I just remember shrinking and feeling all the different feelings all at once, that insignificance. I wasn't worthy. I wasn't good enough. And and that really followed me throughout my upbringing. And there's so many other situations and stories like this, and so many stories of the women that I work with and my soul sisters that I speak to, that, these different traumas and witnessing abuse in my household. We were very much raised in a patriarchal home where women were meant to be seen, not heard. And we weren't supposed to have opinions. And so when you have that and you're witnessing, your mother being hurt by the person who's supposed to be your protector, it really does a number on you. And I remember just going into like this big badass, like the compassionate inner child version of me just disappeared. I tucked her away to keep her safe, and just this fighter came out, and that's who I carried through my life. And ultimately, it wasn't really until I had my daughter, which was my last child, she's 6 years old, that I realized that I had lost my compassion. And I was raising my boys to be tough. And I was raising them the way my dad had raised me. And I had to do a lot of work around forgiveness for that, because I know now, and I've really tried to work with them and just be and do better and show them that they're enough and they're perfect the way they are. And really what we need is for us to rise together, men and women alike, right? And reawaken the divine matriarch. And so that's a long way to get to that. The majority of these things that are keeping us from showing up on camera, keeping us from being able to be seen in our truth and speak and magnetize so that we can invite clients in instead of going and chasing after clients. That comes from our own safety.
Absolutely.
How many women get to the edge? And when I say the edge, I'll explain it. So there's an edge. It's you're pushing, 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 and then you get to a point where if you get to that edge and you look over and you're like, oh man, that looks real scary. But if you take the leap and you jump over the edge, guess what? All that awaits for you is the unknown, and that's where the magic happens.
Yep.
But what happens is our nervous systems say, no, 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 I want to be safe. So I'm going to self-sabotage. I'm going to do whatever I can to keep you from going over that edge because I want to stay in the known. And that's where we have to learn and implement the tools to retrain our nervous system, reprogram ourselves. And the great thing is that even if we have years and years and years of conditioning, we can reprogram ourselves, and the tools can help you almost instantly. Like
Really.
box breathing, right? You just breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for, you inhale for 4, you hold for 4, you exhale for 4, you hold for 4. If you just do that, 3 to 4 times right before a call, right before you're going to meet with a client, right before you're going to get on stage, right before you have to, do anything really, it really creates resonance. It helps to align your mind and your heart. And so the interesting thing is that I was trained in all these different modalities, and then I decided to go and also get the science backing. So I went and I trained with the Heart Math Institute, and I learned heart mind coherence and trauma informed healing. And they have the M-Wave device and also the why am I forgetting what it's called now? And I have one that I use like all the time. Anyways, my mind's not thinking of it, but the inner balance. And so it literally allows you to see on an app. So for those of us who aren't great at meditating, or maybe, life gets busy and you don't know how to drop in when there's people around, it's perfect because there's an app on your phone and you can literally see yourself getting into coherence in real time. But the key here is that there are tools. So we have to first illuminate those shadows. We got to go into the nervous system, figure out what is going on, and then bring those to the surface so that we can move them through. Then we get the tools that help us to regulate in real time so that we can start to be visible, to feel safe being seen, to feel safe receiving. And ultimately, I felt that through my journey and the journeys of the women that I witnessed, we were looking at it all wrong when we're trying to approach soulpreneurship and look at sales from a traditional masculine standpoint, because it starts with going into strategy and going into objection handling and going into all these things, and it's backwards, because as soul-led women entrepreneurs, we don't need that. What we need is to feel safe in our bodies, to feel safe in our nervous systems, to feel safe to speak our truth, and to then embody the gift so that we are selling by providing a service, being of service to others, not selling a service. And when we can do that, and we can look at it as we are providing the most value for the most people without any expectation. So how can I provide the most value? Something that I hear about all the time is like, I don't know what content to post. I don't know what to say. I don't know, what people want to hear. And really, it's like, what do you need to hear right now?
Yeah.
If you were in this moment, what is it that you need to hear?
Sure.
Do you need to hear that, like all the superficial stuff? Or do you need to hear, hey, you know what? I've been on this journey for, 5+ years, and I still struggle. I still get up in the morning and sometimes feel like, oh, I don't want to do this. Oh, I don't want to get on camera. Oh, I don't want to. But the difference is that once you learn how to do the work and you start to feel safe, then you have the tools and you can start to do it even when you don't want to, because you start to be able to counter your nervous system. And so within the Sales with Soul framework, that is what I start with. I start with coming home to yourself. We learn how to integrate our highest self. Some women have never even met their highest self.
Right.
So it's learning how to meet and integrate. And I have some amazing guided meditations that are really great for this, that make you feel safe and allow you to go through this journey to kind of heal, but going back and figuring out that golden light, that inner child golden light. And when I say that, there was a point where you hadn't been tainted by life's experiences. And for me, I can recall specifically going back going through, I call it the iridescent river. It's the timeless river in my mind. It's a river that has no up, no down, no left, no right, no forward, no back. So you get into the river and it takes you where you need to go. And it's like you're instantly there. And for me, where it took me was to a memory of, I was around 3 years old, and my mom had this velour like robe, and it was burgundy, and it was super soft, and it was long sleeve, and it was all the way down to the ground, and it zipped all the way down. And I remember her bathing me, then drying me, then taking me out and putting me into her velour suit with her and zipping it up. And in that moment, feeling so safe, so loved, so embodied, just knowing that I was accepted exactly as I was. I had no doubt in my mind. And that is the last time that I have a memory of feeling that safe. So going back and being able to find that version, no matter how long it takes, and integrating her back in, and knowing that you are safe now and you can keep her safe. And then finding that passion, that flame, and reintegrating that part of her, of you. I know we had some talk around this, right? There were some things that came up for you around the fear of integrating that flame. And ultimately, you took the leap. You went over the edge, and you're showing up and you're doing the damn thing. And you know, you should be so freaking proud of yourself, but I am super, super proud of you because you're kicking ass, man. Sorry. And I just love it. And so, you know, if more women took the responsibility, and that is one of in my Sales with Soul creed, one of the things that I say is, when we are on the path and we are awakened or we are awakening, then it becomes our responsibility to help lead other women who are also on that path, not to convince. It is not our job to convince anyone of anything. If you don't agree, if you're not where I am, if you're not ready to meet me here, that is completely okay. I still love you, and I'm here if you ever decide that you need me. But until then, I give you blessings and, you know, wish you on your way. And that's all it is, because we are not sent here to convince. We are sent here to illuminate the path for others, because I'm of the belief that when women are illuminated from the inside out, we truly illuminate the path for everyone we come in contact with. And so ultimately, I've created the whole framework, and the framework walks us through being able to be safe, understanding and the triggers, and being able to work through the shadows, and being able to practice using our voice and being seen on camera, and being seen in sharing our offer and being heard, and really seeing what our vision is, and really being able to lock in the vision with the emotion, so that our heart and our mind and our coherence when we are manifesting our reality, because that is how we manifest our realities. And so we have to be safe, we have to be in alignment, and then, you know, the rest will magnetize and it will come in. And so we don't have to chase anyone, because those who are ready for our medicine, when we are magnetized and we're putting it out there, they are going to find their way to us.
Absolutely.
The only way that we can fail is if we don't put ourselves out there. If someone says no to us, and that's okay, because it just means that we weren't in alignment or the timing wasn't right, and that's okay. The only way that really you're failing is if you're not showing up and you're not sharing your gifts with the world. And so how do we stop that? How do we break that cycle? We do it with Sales with Soul. And I have something really exciting, because I'm going to be launching my mastermind, and it's going to drop next month, and it's going to be 2 3-month programs, because I wanted it to be digestible. So I didn't want to do a 6-month, but it will be 3 and then 3. And it's really going to be a fully embodied, immersive experience where I'm going to walk with you every step of the way. Not only am I going to teach you how to unpack, but then what do we do with that? Then how do we regulate our nervous system? And then how to show up on camera. We're going to practice. We're going to practice our purpose statement. We're going to practice speaking our truth. We're going to practice recording it. We're going to practice posting it. Because you know what? That's what we don't do enough of. We don't practice. We learn all this stuff, but if we don't practice it, how are we going to get good at it? I relate this, and people like laugh, but I'm like, it's like the Navy SEALs, right? Like, and I only know this because I watch the shows, not because I've actually been one, right? But I have been in the Air Force, so, and I was on a training base, so there's that little disclaimer, right? So, but what happens is they train, they have simulations, and they do them in real time with real gear, in real scenarios, and multiple different scenarios. Because why? Because your nervous system needs to be able to respond along with your mind when something happens. You need to be in full alignment. And the only way to do that is to practice in real time. And so a big part of the program, the way I designed it, is to get us into our discomfort and to be able to grow, because that's where it happens, right? You grow when you're in the unknown. You grow when you're a little bit in the discomfort, but you have someone there that's going to walk beside you and guide you. And so the second part of that will be all about strategy and how to align. And you know me, like I love technology, and I think I've tried pretty much every different technology out there, and I'm really, really great at it. And so that is another thing that I'm going to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Learning how to use the right tools. What's going to work for you? Do you want simplicity? Do you want something more advanced? And how do you make that happen? How do you make it a reality? And so it's not one size fits all. So I would say the biggest thing here is that I'm integrating modern psychology with ancient wisdom, with rituals and ceremonies, with some guided plant medicine journeys for those who need it and want it. I won't say need it because that's a personal preference, but I have facilitated that, and it's been very transformational. And so with that, I have my retreat that will be at the end of kind of going into the fall, because I wanted to take some time and really focus on the Sales with Soul workshops. But I'm also going to have some mini intensives where we are going to get together in person for a weekend and practice everything we've learned. And we are literally going to practice with each other, with strangers, on camera, getting online, like, and it's just going to be raw and unfiltered and fun, and truly learning how to enjoy selling, enjoy receiving, and enjoy speaking your truth. And that's it. Like, and I have my book that's I just finished, and I told you I'm super excited about that. And so that's going to be coming out, and that is Sales with Soul as well. And so I'm super excited. It's voice, vision, and prosperity.
Oh my gosh. And this all came from a culmination and really that aha moment just a couple months ago, just to watch you integrate that fire, because you were already doing all the work, but like putting it all together. And man, I have just watched so much accelerated growth because your soul was aligned with it, And
Yeah.
oh man, I have full body chills right now because this is so different than anything that anyone else is teaching, and so valuable because it is that deeper healing, and it is the next evolution of what we're stepping into. I think that the collective consciousness is changing, and what used to work no longer works. And we are seeing so many soul-led women enter into entrepreneurship and not really understand how self-actualizing it is.
Yeah.
And if you are stepping in from a broken, burned out, misaligned place, it's gonna be messy, and you're gonna leak that onto your clients. It'll be part of the client experience. So I love that you're dialing it back and coming from a place of true healing and helping those women understand their worth and understand what it's like to be seen and heard and visible. You spoke about that. That was massive for me. I knew that I was worthy of this work, but being visible was a massive step. And when that clicked, and I realized that I'm not trying to sell anybody anything, what's meant for me will come to me, but understanding that I have to be in alignment and I have to drop into that heart space and use my fire. So I love that you have stepped into this space, because I literally don't know anybody else that's teaching sales this way, and then to take it one step further and allow it to be a space where people can practice and train and grow together in community and safety and learn these sales, techniques that you're teaching is huge. So
Thank you.
it's absolutely beautiful. I'm blown away and cannot wait to come.
Right? I know.
And you talk about ritual being like a really big part of this coming event. It's really interesting because my program is very somatic, and it's not just writing a book. It's not that masculine. We're not just pounding out chapters. A lot of the work that I teach the women to do is the same that you're talking about. It's, where does your story come from? Where does that live in your body? I teach breath work, I teach meditation, visualization practices to help them really embody that story that they're trying to tell and how they can teach those lessons moving forward. And ritual is so much a part of my personal life. I have non-negotiable rituals that I do every day, and I teach my authors the same. So I guess from your perspective, what does a ritual look like around sales with soul?
So there really are so many, and I go deep into this in the book, but example for me, like sense. So it's embodying, or it's addressing all the senses and addressing heart, mind, body, and soul, right? So think like the Native American medicine wheel and the whole self. And what I realized when I first got certified as a life purpose coach, and then I went on to get certified as a health and wellness coach, and then all these different certifications, and I kept feeling like something was missing. I was seeking something from my own journey of healing. And ultimately, when you move forward in only one area of your life, then the others get left behind, and then you're going to continue to be out of balance. And so figuring out how you can simultaneously take small sustainable steps in each area of your life to move yourself forward right, holistically. And that's why Sales with Soul, based on my soul illumination method, is so different, because it embodies the whole self. So it is a holistic approach to selling, to running a business, to realizing that our business is almost its own entity. It has a soul of its own. And so we need to work with that soul and figure out what that soul needs and what it wants and what's going to nourish it. And so having tiny rituals, like for me, lavender oil and rose oil are huge. And I carry them with me everywhere I go. And when I first get up in the morning, straight into my hands, and I just take some nice deep breaths and just really breathe into that. And when I skip that step, it really makes a difference. It kind of throws me off. And when I am feeling somewhere like on the plane, I take them with me on the plane. I never used to think of this, and then my plane rides would be super chaotic. And then now I take with me my crystals. I take with not a whole bunch, but the main ones, right? Because I have so many. But I take like one, and then I'll take my oils, and I'll take my inner balance device, and I'll take little things, and I will drop in on the plane and throughout my plane ride to ensure that it goes smooth and that I stay grounded. And that really has helped with the sales aspect, even though I didn't realize it when I started to do it before I needed to show up on camera. And I'll give you the perfect example. It actually just happened recently. So again, I go back to, here's the imperfection. It shows up for all of us, and it's okay. We're all on this journey. We're all human, and we're all learning and growing, and it's going to happen, and having grace. I teach nervous system regulation and these different tools, right? Like the washer machine, where you literally sway back and forth and you tap yourself, right? And what it does is help to regulate you in real time. Then you can also do the butterfly, where you hug and you like basically, you're patting yourself, right? And so that helps to regulate. And if you're sitting down and you're in a meeting and you don't want you can do it with your hands, right? Or you can tap your thighs. And just gently tapping your thighs, it makes a huge difference. Or you can even practice the breathing. No one else is going to know that you're counting your breath. Right. But all these different things help us to regulate. And then shaking, jumping, moving, right? Like shaking your legs out, shaking your arms out, shake, 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 right? And dancing. I love to dance, right? Exactly. Like get all the tension out and move it out of our bodies. And like, And I started waking up the kids like that, and they love it. Like, I'll go in there and be like, all right, it's time to shake. And I'll put on that wiggle dance. And then all of a sudden they're like wiggling their arms or wiggling their legs, and I'm doing it with them. But, you know, it's what I really realized is like, we need these different methods. And so
Yeah.
I went to an event where I paid to be recorded in a live studio on camera, and I paid a pretty good amount of money. And I'm actually going to reach out to them and see if they would be willing to allow me to re-record. So what happened was, and it wasn't a perfectionist moment because we have to be able to identify the difference.
Yeah.
But I went in, and knowing that I have these things that I'm working on, and I have these many tools that I teach, I didn't feel for some reason safe to utilize my tools when I needed them most. So when it was time to go record, I didn't ground. I got in my head, out of my heart, wasn't in alignment, and I could feel my energy, my essence was not there. I was robotic. I wasn't me. I didn't have my, like that. Just what I say, I'm not regular glue. I'm glitter glue, right? I'm not ordinary glue. I'm glitter glue. And I got that from like a little, it's a little TikTok of this little girl, but I'm like, yes, that is me. I am glitter glue. I love to shine. And so when I'm watching myself, they sent me the video footage, and I could see what I thought I put out. Like, not me, not my essence, not my vibe, not my energy. And that was very misaligned for me. And that just happened not so long ago. And so the key here is to have grace and have compassion. And I was proud of myself for showing up. I was proud of myself for doing it. And just realizing that we have to be willing to do what's necessary to be able to reach and get our voice out there and reach those who we intend to reach and heal and elevate humanity, right? Because it's about the bigger mission.
Absolutely.
It's when you're a soul-led entrepreneur, like, it's not just about the money. Yes, money is awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like, and that was another thing that I realized when I got out of corporate. I was so successful that I felt like I was on this soul-led journey, and oh no, it was a shame to have, a beautiful wedding ring that my husband worked so hard to get me, and so I wouldn't wear it, and oh, it was a shame to flaunt, or I felt like I was flaunting just by wearing nice clothes or having, like driving our nice car that we had at the time, and all these different things, and these nice designer bags that my husband had got me. I'm like, oh no, I can't use those because it's going to be shamed upon. But what I had to do was kind of go full circle and realize that was me coming from a different hurt, from a different overperforming on the spiritual side. Like, oh no, I'm putting on a performance. And so when I finally really embodied, like in the Buddha's words and these different teachings of spiritual leaders, is we can have abundance. We can have material things. It's not being attached to them and not putting them before sacred life and not doing unethical things to make money. And to bring in that wealth and abundance, and being willing to be of service. And that will bring in that abundance naturally, because that energetic exchange is going to happen as long as we're willing to show up and be of service. And so that really has been the ritualistic aspect for me, is realizing that, hey, we need to ensure that we have our little toolkit. We know what works for us, and we need to implement that, whether that's setting your boundaries. Like, just because someone is family or just because they've been a friend for a long time doesn't mean that you need to let them in. And it doesn't mean that you need to be cold either. It just you just got to know that you can love them at a distance, and you can wish the best for them, but they can't penetrate your energy because it's not good for you. It's toxic. And so having these little ritual practices that you can do before you go into a situation that may put you at dis-ease, right? Then it really helps to keep us in alignment and regulated. And so when I do these things, I know that I am able to show up. Like, I did it before we jumped on the call, and I'm doing it right now, like by shaking, right? Like, like, and so just doing those things like really helps us to be grounded and be able to show up.
Yeah. And I think, as as entrepreneurs, as mothers, as spouses, you have a million different things. And I think that the the thing that we wrap our heads around is we've got all these things that we have to do, but it really is in those micro choices that we make. And these rituals take less than 5 minutes, but
Yeah.
they can reshape your entire day. And if you compound that over time, you're looking at a whole different person,
Yes.
over the span of a year. But yeah, I love that you're teaching that, because it's so profound. It's something that I use in my life, and it is something that I credit my change to. You've seen me grow and blossom, and it's through those little micro rituals that they're non-negotiable for me. I do them to love myself, to tap back in, and to come. Everything that I create and everyone that I serve from that heart center, because I've tapped into it, and I connect with that intentionally throughout my day. And it sounds like you're teaching that and you're living that as well. What would you say to the woman who knows that she's meant for more, but she's still stuck in fear, in the hustle, in the doubt? She's listening to all these gurus and all these people, and she's still stuck.
What would I say to her? I would say, I am you. I've been there. I know what it feels like. And it is no one else's responsibility but ours to get ourselves out of that. And no matter what we've been through in our life, I've had death. I have had, sexual traumas. I have had abuse, physical, mental, relationship abuse. I mean, you name it. Like, I've experienced it. And with, with all of that, even realizing that these aren't things that were done to us to keep us down. Mm-hmm. This was a natural part of life and our evolution and us growing and being able to strengthen and realize that we don't have to prove our worth, right? We are enough, and we have always been enough. And when we listen to all these, it's great to listen to advice and to seek guidance and seek support. But when you're listening to someone who's trying to tell you how to run your life, the only one who knows how to run and manage your life is you, because you're the only one who can truly live it. You're the only one who can be in your body. And so I would say, start small and find one little thing that you can try to start working toward to help you, whatever that one thing may be. And if that is finding a coach that's aligned, or if that is initiating your own ritual and practices. Like for me, I'm trained in modalities from around the world. So I literally, you've been to my home, right? From Kuan Yin to the Buddha to Jesus to, and then I have incense, and I have sage, and I have Palo Santo, and I have, just anything and everything to purge the energy in the home. And I am running essential oils all day long, and I'm clearing the house and doing all this energy stuff. And then I have all my crystals, and I also meditate, and I go outside and I ground. I walk on the earth, and sometimes when I feel really overwhelmed, I'll just go down and put my hands on the earth and just feed into that and feel the energy and know that we are supported, we are being held, and we're not alone. Tap into other women, tap into community, find sisterhood, and don't let your fear of not being accepted stop you from showing up, because that is the biggest thing. I will give one little story that it's still with me to this day because it is so relevant. When I first got into corporate, I was doing super well and just went, like I said, moved with the corporate ladder really quickly. Then I got recruited by another company, and they offered to pay me a lot more money. So I went for it, right? And at that time, there was no heart in it. It was just go, go, go. And so I took it. And in my mind, I would always burn bridges behind me, because I said I had to either swim or sink. I didn't give myself another option. Yeah. And sometimes it helps to do that in our mind, just to at least get us to move forward, right? And so I got invited to go to this annual gala, and it was for women and women who were professionals and were very successful, and they were receiving awards. And ultimately, what ended up happening was I walked in, I was all dressed up. Right before I walked in, I was on the phone with my friend, and I grew up in San Jose, California, on the east side, which is kind of the hood. Even though I didn't live in a hood house, like being fully transparent, this is how I grew up. A lot of my friends, a lot of fights, a lot of gang violence, a lot of those things. And so that was a whole other hurdle that I had to kind of, work through. And so I get there and I'm at a golf club or a golf course at their club, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't belong here. I don't fit in. Like, I shouldn't be here. So I'm telling my friend, they're not going to accept me, watch, they're going to be all snobby, no one's going to like me, woo, 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 all this stuff, right? And so I walk in, I pass a couple people, they smile, I smile, no one really says anything to me. I go to the bar, I try to talk to a few people, they don't say anything to me. I stand in the corner. It's time for dinner. We go sit down at our table. No one really talks to me at the table. Then they give the awards, and then I get up and I pretty much make my way out of there as quick as I can. I go call my friend. I'm like, I told you. See? Well, what really happened, now that I can look back, I set the expectation, created my reality. I walked in. People tried to talk to me. I said hi and walked right past them. I didn't stop to talk to anyone. I went to the end of the bar and hid the entire time. A few people tried to talk to me, and I was like, oh, hi. Drinking my drink. Then we went to the table, everyone was chit-chatting, everyone was talking, and I'm just sitting there. And then they would ask me a question, and I'd answer super brief. And they said, like, be interested, not interesting, but I was neither. I was just there. Like, I was not trying to talk to anyone. And then as soon as it was over, I ran out of there, right? And oh, my reality was so true, but no, like, that was a reality I created. So understanding that if we shift our perspective, we can shift our reality. And it just takes a little bit of work and a little bit of more energy to put into that, but it is possible.
Absolutely. You and I are living, breathing examples of that.
Yes. Truth.
So what is your vision for the work in the long run, and how do you hope that this message ripples through women who work with you?
Music to my soul. I have
like this,
right, like this, right. Okay. So I have a 6-year-old daughter, and you met her. She is just, gosh, she's amazing. She's freaking amazing, and I learn from her every single moment of every day, and I learn what she reflects back to me that I've taught her. And so when she says, Mom, people who are not nice are the ones that need love the most, because they're probably going through something that's making them be not nice. Like, ooh, yep, you're right. But it's that reminder. And my kids meditate, right? I've taught them to meditate so that they can ground into themselves. And no, it's not easy. And I've been asked, how do you do it? It's consistency. It's showing them that it's okay. It's sitting down and doing it with them and inviting them in. And then slowly start with 1 minute, then go to 2 minutes. And I started with mine eyes open, just sit still. Just try to sit still for 30 seconds. Because you'd be amazed, most kids can't even most adults can't even do that without moving for 30 seconds, like completely still. People want to scratch, they want to move their tongue, they want to blink their eyes, they want to do something, right? And so it's that we've not been taught to be able to just like sit with ourselves and be, and just be. And so ultimately what I've seen through her, and I really start to see, like, I got so terrified when she was born, and that compassion started to come back, and I found it again because it wasn't there. It took work. And I know that sounds terrible, right? A mother who doesn't have compassion, but it's a reality, and it's my truth. And so I am very much an open book when it comes to pretty much the majority of that stuff. And so I thought to myself, there has to be a better way. And everybody said I was like a hopeless romantic, because I'm like, there has to be a better way. I have faith that we can make the world a better place, and we are more equipped today than ever to do it if we all rise up and stand in our light. Because we have social media, we have online, we don't have to go into a spirit animal and travel across the jungle in order to reach somebody on the other side of the jungle. We can just jump online like we're doing right now and reach you in Hawaii, me in Arizona, and we're talking, right? And wherever anyone else is in the world. And so with that, my hope is to be able to raise the next generation of empowered, balanced, feminine leaders and restore the divine matriarch to the world. Because I believe that if we do that, we will reestablish balance. And that is balance within men too, because we all have our feminine and masculine energies within us. And the problem is that we've been so pushed into the masculine, men and women alike, that, you know, little boys are being told, don't cry, like, man up. I was told, don't cry, man up by my dad. And so it's like, you know, like we're being pushed in that direction. And so what we need to do is we need to bring it back. We need to find balance. We need to be able to find allies. And one of the women that I was mentoring, she's a young woman, and she was very much on like the man hater. Like, I'm not like, no, like, and the message she was putting out there. And I said, are you trying to build a following or create change in the world? Because if you're trying to create true change in the world, then you need to polish your delivery and be cognizant of who's going to receive that message. Because we want the men that are teetering, maybe they've had some experiences that have pushed them one way and the other, we want them to come over to the light, right? And so in order to do that, we have to be inclusive. We have to learn how to speak. We have to learn how to really find our allies. And so my mission and my hope is I'm working on a certification program within the Sales with Soul framework for women who are already soul-led coaches, guides, you know, healers, to be able to come in under the Soul Haven umbrella and step into the mentor coach role so that they can, I have a nonprofit, which is Soul Haven Foundation. And Soul Haven Foundation is solely focused on 18 to 22-year-old girls in the honor of Brianna, my goddaughter. And this is her right here, the blue butterfly. So that was her spirit animal. And, you know, with all these graduations, she literally passed away a year after she graduated. And so this is her tassel. But, you know, my hope is that no other young woman has to lose her life for the need to overperform. And if we can do it right and we can step into our light and we can learn to feel safe in our bodies and our nervous systems and heal, then we can start to help guide the next generation to step into their truth. And they can do it at a younger age, so they don't have to wait 20, years, 15 years to heal and let the world beat them up even more. They can feel confident standing in their truth and not overperforming, right? And just being authentically them. And so when they do that, then guess what? They're going to be the ones who are leading when my daughter is their age. And so we're going to pave that way, and we're creating that ripple effect to really create change in the world. And that is my hope and my dream. And ultimately, I want to open a center that is a sanctuary for young women and women to be able to come and feel safe and heal and grow and be in their truth. And sales is something that everyone needs to know how to do, because it's even learning how to sell yourself. Sell yourself in a relationship out of truth, not out of lies, not out of performance, not out of being someone that you think you're supposed to be, but learning how to sell your authentic self and feel confident doing that. And so that is my hope and that is my dream. And I hope that I'm able to make that happen before I leave this earth.
Well, I am certainly there to support every step of that. That is just an absolutely incredible mission, and I have full confidence that you are on your path.
Thank you. I love you.
Where can our listeners find you?
Where can they find me? So my handle pretty much across the board is at MS Elizabeth Muñoz. And so I did that for simplicity. You can also, my website is soulhaven.com, and I am in the process of restructuring and rebuilding and including, I have saleswithsoul.io and illuminationretreats.com. And so all of that is being curated right now and made beautiful and pretty. And so ultimately, yes, but you can go to Instagram and DM me, and on my website, my phone number is there too. So you can send a text to the number that's on there. And yeah.
I love this. Well, Elizabeth, thank you again for sharing your story, your heart, your magic, and that incredible vision and mission. To anyone who's listening, you are worthy of being seen, paid, and supported for the service that you are providing to the world. And Miss Elizabeth here can help you on that journey. You do not have to hustle for your worth. Make sure to grab your spot of her Sales with Soul. She is hosting that June 5th in Scottsdale, correct?
Oh, yeah, I didn't even bring that up. So
Yeah.
my in-person, so that is an in-person, and that will be June 5th in Scottsdale at Abundant Space. And from there, I'm actually going to move to an online version because I've been asked by so many of my soul sisters to be able to do it in a way or host it in a way where they can attend from anywhere. And so the
Yeah.
workshop series is going to move to an online workshop series. So be on the lookout for that as well. It's going to be dropping soon.
Amazing. Yes, I would love the details of that. And we will include all of that into the show notes today so you can find Miss Elizabeth and her incredibly amazing mission and tap into her beautiful spirit anytime you wish. Well, thank you for being here with Right to Rise. We love you, and remember, together we rise.
Yes, we do. Love you.